Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Before I start, am I audible? If anybody can just let me know. Am I clear?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Thanks so much. So, hello all. Very good afternoon. Myself, Ekta Dubey, and on behalf of the Brinalytics team and our title partner, Avaya India, we welcome you all and thank you for being part of our webinar, Smart CX Talks, Envisioning the New World of Work. So before we start the webinar, there are a few guidelines that I would like to highlight and make you people aware of. Requesting all the attendees to be on mute when the speakers are taking the session. There would be a Q&A after each session where the attendees can ask the questions, if any, to the respective speakers. The guidelines for the Q&A are: raise your hands, you need to unmute yourself on your video, introduce yourself, your organization, your job role, and put your question to the concerned speaker. So to quickly start with, first, I would like to introduce our title partner, Avaya India. Avaya India businesses are built on the experiences they provide, and every day, millions of these experiences are built by Avaya. For over 100 years, they have enabled organizations around the globe to win by creating intelligent communications experiences for customers and employees. Avaya builds open, converged, and innovative solutions to enhance and simplify communications and collaborations in the cloud, on premise, or a hybrid of both. To grow your business, they are committed to innovation, partnerships, and a relentless focus on what's next. They are the technology company you trust to help you deliver experiences that matter. Before we move on to our keynote session, I would just like to highlight about what the webinar is all about. We all know customer experience has always been the king of buzzwords because we live in a customer-centric world. CX has evolved to become one of the most important cogs in the wheel driving customer acquisition, retention, and long-term business success for organizations operating across diverse domains. Customer expectations are changing faster and growing more sophisticated than ever before due to the boom of technology. The webinar Smart CX Talks, as the name says, would focus on how rapidly and effectively you need to adapt your CX for a digital world. You will be equipping yourself with exclusive insights on how organizations will be transferring to suit the new norms and reaping the rewards of customer loyalty as a result. So to quickly start with our keynote session, I would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Nilesh Marathe, Digital Engagement Solutions Sales Leader, Avaya India. To give a brief about him, Nilesh has a rich experience of 17 years in contact center and unified communications with organizations such as Nortel, Microsoft, and Avaya. Nilesh has a deep understanding of Avaya engagement solutions and has a good know-how on how customer journey mapping and devising their digital transformation strategy. Nilesh has led the way in digital transformation journey powered by artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cloud, and emerging technologies. And he is going to share his insights in leading the way in the new way of world of CX through DX and EX. Over to you, Nilesh, to start your session, please.
Thank you, Ekta, and good afternoon, everyone. Let me just take a moment to share my screen, and yeah, let me know if you can see my desktop. Is it visible?
Yes. Yes, Nilesh.
All right,
Clear.
okay, great. Thank you. And once again, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking time out to join us today for this particular session. My name is Nilesh Marathe, and I'll be taking next 25 to 30 minutes to walk you through this particular sessions. I will be accompanied by Dr. Ram Kashi and Deepak Agrawal and we will try and give you less of a talk and more of a demonstration on what we are going to do today, right? So with that, let me just first give you and feel free to ask questions, right? We want to make this session as interactive as possible, but because the online nature of this particular event, let the session finish and then we'll be happy to take as many questions as you may want to ask, right? So let's keep it interactive. And keeping the interactive session as a norm, let me just walk you through a video before we dive down to this particular session. So that will just give you a gist about what Avaya does in addition to what Ekta just briefed us about.
What makes an experience matter? The world is full of them, right? To make them matter, you have to do something different. You have to make each experience mean something. You have to make people feel seen, heard, and understood from the heart of intelligent communications. And you have to make it all easy, the way it should be. Businesses are built on the experiences they provide. And every day, millions of those experiences are built by us. We're Avaya, and we've been delivering experiences that matter for decades, helping companies large and small all around the world create better communications experiences for their employees and their customers. We believe every experience should matter, and we partner with businesses of all sizes to make it happen.
Well, so with that, it's all about the customer experience, and that's where everyone is focusing on. And the organizations are reinventing themselves and going through the transformation so that we can focus on the customer experience. And I'm sure each one of you are going through that particular phase of transformation. And interestingly, when one goes through the transformation, uh, there are we go through this is a strange word. Few weeks back I came across VUCA world, right? And we go through when we go through a transformation, we go through this phases, right? Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. These are the phases when the organization goes through the transformation, right? These are we don't know what is happening. We don't know how it's going to happen. There is a lot of uncertainty, ambiguity, what needs to be done, etc. And that's how the organization emerges stronger into on the path that we are set to, right? So this is typical world, but more so in the today's context, I'm not talking about the not only the organization but world as a whole came across or went through this VUCA world, right? Because everybody, the entire world was shaken by this 0.12 micron virus, brought the world to its knees. We started working from home, and then we went through the cycle, yet another forced transformation of adopting to the new reality, right? So that's what we everybody together, and there was no exceptions. Everyone went through this experience, right, of volatility, uncertainty, ambiguity, and I think every each one of us emerged stronger and went through this particular cycle. And typically, I would say, the phases that we emerged is storming, right? So surviving the present. We knew there was a crisis, but yet we had our customers to serve, right? No matter if the customers couldn't come to our offices, branch offices, or retail stores or shops, but yet customers were there and doing business, right? The business dipped initially a little bit, but everyone survived, right? The business continued, even though initially slowly, but then now we are back to the pre-COVID levels. So we went through the phases of storming, surviving the presence, right? Living with whatever the decision was made of a lockdown, and then coming through that, finding some solutions, etc. And then norming, accepting that this is going to be the reality, right? And then finding the solution. Okay, that's fine. Lockdown is a reality, and then we need to figure out how we're going to weather this storm, right? Accepting the reality and then finding the solutions and then implementing this particular solution. That's where the innovations came to the rescue. We started looking at what are the different ways to serve our customers, and so on. And then the phase comes the performing, right? The maximize the business, picking our output, expand the horizon, or whatever we could do in a smaller phases. Now we know that whatever we did works, just expanding on it, right? This is a typical cycle that each one of us went through, and now it is time that we know, we can conquer the situations. We have found the ways to enhance the productivity of the organization, to serve our customers, and the focus is again now back on the customer experience, on in given the situation, accepting the new reality, how we are going to keep enhancing the customer experience, right? Because the customer is in the center for the organization. So the focus is back on that, and now we are again looking at the past. The storm is over. We know that what we going to do, what we need to do, and the how we continue our journey of the transformation, right? Transforming the customer experience, keeping the customer at the center, and so on. So and there are too many things to talk, but we know we have short time on our hand. So what we're going to do is we're just narrowing down on our discussions on the digital part, because digital is at the heart of the CX transformation, right? And more so in today's scenarios, because even though the lockdown is over, many people are working from home. There are physical access is restricted. People are looking for a digital solution or touchless solutions, and digital plays a very important role in that particular aspect, right? That's why I will say why not focus on digital, because it is today, in today's world, more so now than ever, is at the heart of CX transformation, right? And what we're going to do, so when the organization think about the digital, there are so many things you know how to think of. Okay, digital, how many touch points, how many channels? There are a variety of digital touch points that exist today, right? We have not only earlier, 5 years back we had email and web chat, but today we have social, so many channels in the form of social, right? So people get overwhelmed with which channel I need to prioritize, whether I need to look at WhatsApp, what about the Twitter, what about Facebook, what about the email, web chat, how do I integrate, what happens to my existing contact center? Do I run digital in silos? Do I build in on top of my existing voice infrastructure that I use to serve my customers? There are so many questions and the uncertainties that you may face, and that is something that we want to try to address in today's session. Sorry, is there a question in between? No. All right. So what we're going to do is the try and give you some answers in that particular respect, is no matter of which digital channels think of, right? We want to make it really simple. Adoption of the digital is really simple for you. You know, the complete your digital adoption, digital transformation completed in weeks, and not in the form of years or months. We're talking about helping you adopt your digital strategy in a matter of weeks, right? And how that will be the focus, and we'll try and show you the live demo, give you that experience and how easy, simple that would be. But before we do that, what are we talking about is the digital channels of your choice, no matter where you want to start, whether you are on the social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, but now Instagram, YouTube are there is a lot of these channels are generating a lot of traffic, and most of the e-commerce businesses are present at Instagram and YouTube. You know, these are also the source revenue generating channels for most of the businesses. So how do you incorporate these channels in your digital strategy, in customer servicing, or even generating more revenues, etc.? Right? How do you bring everything together, orchestrate, and then also integrate with your existing customer service channels? Right. So that's the whole concept, and we will help you build everything together and in place in a matter of few weeks. And that's what the focus will be. So this is the experience will look like, but instead of I'm showing you the slides and the use cases on the slides, what I would like to do is these are some of the pictures and the use cases shown on this particular slide, but it is seeing is believing. So we would like to show you some things in action, and to do that, I would like to invite Deepak to do the live demonstration for you. Deepak, are you there are you on the call?
Yeah, Nilesh, I'm there.
Fantastic, Deepak. So why don't you take over the sharing? I'll stop my sharing, and I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so I'll take a moment here. Okay, so hi guys, my name is Deepak. I'm going to help Nilesh over here for demonstrating very simple use case. As Nilesh was mentioning, right, over the so much challenges going around, a lot of people cannot visit your the businesses, their sites, and so it becomes very inevitable that you should be able to serve the customer from wherever means they want to reach out. That means digital is the way. They you see there are more people on the WhatsApp than there are people calling you nowadays, right? People want to visit WhatsApp, they use Facebook, they use Twitter. There are so many preferences, and in order to service them, you have to be everywhere, right? So what I'm going to show you is very simple example how businesses can bring in their customer and serve their customer from whatever channel they want. So example over here is that right now you're seeing my mobile on the left hand side, which is a WhatsApp. I've just casted my mobile. You're seeing a WhatsApp, and let's say for a customer who is looking for their it could be your home appliances customer. It could be a customer for whom you have sold some insurance or something, and they are looking for their duplicate invoice. Now right now what would happen is that they have to go into the website, look for the information. We have to bring everything in the channel of their choice. So a customer comes in, he just simply says hi, which could be a business WhatsApp number. As soon as customer comes in and says hi, it could be a personal digital assistance, and it will say, okay, yeah, how can I help you? These are the top 5 choices people are talking about. They want to use it. Now I'm looking for my duplicate invoice copy. I will say, yeah, I'm looking for duplicate invoice copy. It will say, yeah. So system would go and look at, and now systems are intelligent enough. It's not about just answering the customer. System is intelligent. He knows that this person is coming from WhatsApp, and he could be already registered users with me. So he said, do you want me to use what WhatsApp number? Yes, go ahead, and I will go and do it. And system will go into your backend system, goes to the CRM, identify this customer. Okay, he identified this is Deepak Agrawal, and he will also do a second factor authentication. As you see, I just got an SMS with an OTP. I will do an authentication. Now I've already authenticated this customer. I'm ready to send this duplicate invoice to this customer. So it's as simple as this. Customer can go and fetch their information. They can raise ticket. They can do a lot of things. Now, even after doing this, it does not stop here, right? Customer may need some more information, which may not need a manual intervention. So let's say customer says, hey, I want more information, which is not here. I want to talk to a customer care, a live agent. Let's escalate this to a live agent. Now here on the right hand side, I have our interface, agent interface over here, where I can just simply go and log myself over here. Mark yourself available. As soon as I mark myself available, he says that yeah, there's a conversation coming in. The agent name is James. On the left hand side, you said the agent is announced, and now agent can say, because agent can go and see what this customer was doing before coming in here. He was looking for an invoice. He authenticated himself. The invoice was put, and then he came in. Okay, hello Deepak, you must have got invoice. How can I help you? So let's say for this customer says, yeah, I got the invoice. Um, can you extend my warranty? Now the journey doesn't stop here, right? Because now we know that customer wants to extend their warranty. Agent could look into their CRM system and then analyze, identify that this customer has not completed his KYC, right? This is very common norm in India, right? Every 1 year or 2 year, you have to complete your KYC. So let's say agent will say, sure, why not? Okay, and um, but in order to do that, can you uh, ca- can you complete your KYC details? Now, so now when you are doing a KYC, you may be asking some confidential information. So you want to shift the customer to much more secure, because WhatsApp, obviously, WhatsApp is still secure, but it's still a public channel, right? So you can push this customer to go to a more secure channel, and that's why you are pushing a link where customer can go click on the link and can simply say, oh yeah, sure, why not? And then customer would open a interface where he can do much more than this. So let me close the old one here. So, and here the customer would say, yeah, I have reached here. Let me go and complete my KYC. It would be much more visually rich experience, much more secure. Customer can punch in his number and he can simply do a lot of things over here. Now, with much more rich experience, you can do advanced information, like you can, let me authenticate myself over here. Only if I get the SMS. Let's wait for an SMS. I'll go and see my, no, I've not got the SMS yet. Okay, so let me reload this again. Yeah, sometimes the SMS takes some time to come in. I'll go and register my mobile number. I will say, yeah, sure, and put in here. This time I did get it, 8324. And now, so now once this happens, then customer can fill in more details. He can punch in his age, he can punch in his, let me put some dummy date here to continue with it. And then you can punch in the Aadhaar number, you can put in the address. Now, since we are in the rich experience, we can collect the information using the Google Map and all those things over here. And I would say, yeah, sure, why not? And then I can push in my photo. I can enable my camera. I can just take a photo of myself over here. Yeah. So I will say, yeah, photo have been taken, then customer can do. So the point is that you have to give much more rich experience to the customer. I can do a signing. I can do lot of things, right? We can do a OCR, we can do lot more information than this and this. So the experience can be limitless here, right? This is just one simple example. Now, what if I want to do this on and so example was WhatsApp, right? What if customers preferred channel is Facebook or Twitter, right? So he goes into Twitter. He's more used to of doing the Twitter. He comes in here. The same experience can be done on the Twitter also, right? So you say that hi, and the same thing comes in here. Or yeah, and we can even bring this customer from the Twitter into the agent. Now, if you see this, I just did a same another customer from the Twitter. It will come in here. You would have the same interface handling the customer on the Twitter also, and he can do it. So it's very rich experience. And all this thing can be seamlessly done into multiple channels. Okay, so I'll take a pause here. And so how is this getting done so quickly, right? How are we bringing this, all those things? So it's being done because we, as an Avaya solution, right? We have a very good digital experience solution in the background, which is making this work this way seamlessly, multiple channels, multiple solution, multiple type of experiences integrating with this thing based on the solution where you can build your own journey, right? It supports multiple kinds of channels over here. You can see so many channels supported over here, which can be brought in. You can decide which experience to take, and you can also build your own experience in the quick, no matter time, right? You can build let's say you are working for a product marketing, right? And you want to build a marketing campaign for your company. So you simply come and say there, oh yeah, marketing, Avaya Spaces. Let's say Avaya want to sell a Spaces and they want to build a marketing campaign. Hello, welcome to Avaya. Nice to. So, and you can simply build a campaign with the click of things. You don't even need to do a single coding for this. Okay. Uh, yes, yes. Okay, and then you can simply say I want to send. I'm just putting any document which I want to share here. Let's say I just want to put an image or video file, or I can push video file, I can push image file, whatever needed, and then I can say, yeah, please share your details to receive free 2 months trial. Okay, and then I can collect the information from the customer. As simple as that. I say I want to collect the contact, I want to collect the name, email, phone, address, company, all this thing. Okay, and then once the information is, thank you for your interest, and then I can just simply push a link via spaces. Okay, let me put I'm putting a spaces via cloud.com, something. Okay, and as simple as that, we are building this journey. You can go and simply say, yeah, I'm done. You can put a exit with an image, choose an image which could be any image over here, or like this, and you say this, save. That's all you need to do to build a marketing. And as simple as that, once this is done, you just go to deploy and say copy. I'll do a copy a link, and this is the link all you need to deploy this experience. So if you come in here, you just do it. Your campaign is ready. You can send this link on the WhatsApp, you can send this link on the SMS, you can send this link on the email, wherever you want, and your digital experience journey marketing campaign is ready within few minutes. You don't even need to do a lot over here. Okay, and bring in the journey in terms of running this campaign. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, then so here we go. Welcome to Avaya. You gave a message. You can do your own branding. You can change the color scheme. You can change the font size. You can collect the information. I just put in my details. Something like this, and just submit. And you will thank you for your interest, and you got a link. You can click on this link and you can do it. So the world has changed a lot, right? Now once we do this, the things does not end. If you're doing this thing, how you're calculating what is being done on this. So we also with the term digital bringing so many channels around it, you also want to make sure that you are collecting the information, you are seeing what is happening around. People can come in here, see the reports, see the what people are doing in last 7 days, people are doing in the last 30 days, what are the people using in our solution. They are talking about the reservation, they are talking about the virtual assistant, they are talking about disputing charges, what they are doing when they are talking to a live agent. They are talking about give me a connection issues I'm facing, how are my agents happening. All those reports can be given on the fingertip on the real time. Okay, so I will take a break here, and we'll take a question.
Thanks.
Yeah, Nilesh?
Yeah, thanks, Deepak. I think this was good. Just to sort of, quickly, this is Ram Kashi here, just to summarize, what we were trying to show you here was, the theme of this whole workshop was about experiences, right? We just wanted to give you a glimpse of how do you easily create experiences, create very rich visual experiences. how do you create these experiences on digital channels? And it's not only about creating experiences, how do you measure an experience, right? So what Deepak just showed you is how you can measure these experiences. We can iterate over the experiences, right? These experiences are driven by AI. So if Deepak, if you can just show us a quick view of the AI portal there. So we'll be able to measure it, we'll be able to improve, we'll be able to iterate. So it's all about rapidly, here's a platform, you're able to rapidly create experiences because you know that your end customers are coming to you on various channels. How do you keep, easily adding these new channels, right? So we're trying to simplify the ability for businesses to rapidly create experiences. I said rapidly to create, to monitor, to measure, improve the whole experience, right? So that's sort of in a nutshell what we tried to show you today. So if you see that, here's where we could we did a lot of these things with buttons, but you can feel free for your customers to enter text, multiple languages, and then based on that, you can train the data and be able to get to the appropriate experience based on what they type in, right? So that's sort of in a nutshell. I see that there's a lot of questions, so let's spend some few minutes for the questions before we can hand it over to the next session.
Yes, Mr. Nilesh, can we open the forum for the question from the audiences?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Nilesh, Mr. Deepak, and Mr. Ram for sharing your insights and details about Avaya. So we have a question from Vishal Mishra. He has raised his hand. Vishal, please put your question.
Hi everyone. So I understand, from the customer experience point of view, how this chatbot is really, interacting and can be, providing a lot of details. I'm gonna flip this, and I want to understand, do you have, some insights or some solution which is from the supplier experience point of view? When I say supplier experience, for example, you as a major company, you are dealing with your own payables, and you have a lot of vendors whom you are working with. You want to standardize your entire, invoice submission channel, for example, and all those suppliers that come to you and call at your help desk for some kind of questions regarding their payments, and what is the if there is any modification that they want in their vendor details, bank account, whatever it could be. Do you have something that can integrate from the procurement side as well, from supplier experience point of view as well?
Right, Vishal, this is, really good question. So while I'm trying to articulate, Deepak, maybe if you can open that expert tool so that you can show them. It's our whole, the design of this tool, right, is essentially based on workflows. So what you just mentioned right now is how we would go back. What Deepak, we didn't have time to go over and say, how do you create these different workflows? He did walk you through something called the essentials, where you're able to create campaigns very easily without code. But we do have a powerful workflow tool where you can go back and start, this is how you would start to have a conversations either in your dealer network, or if somebody is checking about the status of a payment. All this can be done obviously through automation. You start building a workflow. What Deepak also showed you in the earlier demo, when he was looking at the warranty, where he wanted to, he got that details based on the WhatsApp number, was he integrated this with a ticketing system ServiceNow to get all that information. So similarly, we can integrate this with backends that you may have. Typically today, most of them in this API world do expose REST-based APIs. And we'll have a mechanism in the workflow to call those REST APIs and appropriately get the data about payment status, or when will my payment be made. All those questions can potentially be, that experience for your dealers, for your customers, can all be built on the platform.
So this can be integrated with ERP such as SAP.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. So we have some use cases where we've integrated this with Salesforce, with SAP. Yeah, absolutely.
And it. So the other question, because I was trying to build on a solution which was very similar to this, and I didn't have a few answers. I think this interests me a lot, and that is why a few questions here. But when it comes to invoice submission, and invoice submission comes with its own requirements of how your VAT invoice or, there's a GST applicable on that. Would it have a functionality where you simply, the vendor with a very minimal effort can simply click on a few buttons and just put in, details of what he has sold us, and then, an invoice can be generated in the format that we want. That makes our entire, operations more efficient, instead of, dealing with papers which are in unstructured format, and then you have to apply OCR, etc. in as additional technologies and additional layers.
Yeah, and again, great question. We are doing very similar things with with Avaya, where we've deployed this in smart cities, where the whole aim of the game is to digitize the information. So if somebody wants, building permit, birth certificate, death certificate, just get in the basic information. What we can do is we can build in, very easily custom plugins where you can get the basic information back, and then try and get it right without having to go through all the complications that's today there in paper forms and OCR. Absolutely doable. And we'll be happy. We'll take your information, and then I think this merits obviously a lot more time. We'll sort of walk you through and
Right.
see how we can help you.
Sure. Yeah, we can have a discussion offline. Thank you.
So do we have any more questions? We can quickly take, or we can move over to our interesting panel discussion. I think we should move to the panel. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Bhavesh.
Mr. Nilesh and team, for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
Quickly moving to our panel discussion, transforming CX in the new normal, adapting to the new world of digital interaction. First, I would like to welcome Mr. Bhavesh Vora, Sales Engineering Leader, Avaya India. He's going to moderate the panel. Speaking about Bhavesh, he has 20 years of working experience in enterprise communications, contact centers, in various roles, including solution architecting, sales, project management, and service delivery. He's presently working with Avaya for last 7 years. Bhavesh has a deep understanding of collaboration solutions and worked with many companies and government and helped in digital transformation of their traditional contact center communication system using cloud, digital, and AI. So over to you, Mr. Bhavesh, to start your session. Before that, just 1 minute quickly. Audiences who have logged in with your gadgets, I would request you to please rename it so that we understand whom we are addressing to. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Bhavesh.
Yeah, thank you, Ekta. Thank you, Nilesh, Ram, and Deepak for a very interesting demo. We'll talk something about it as well in the panel. So good evening to all my fellow panelists. Am I audible, clear?
Yes, Bhavesh.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Okay. A very warm welcome. What we'll do is, I think you got a gist of about a customer experience, but this discussion, we will slightly broaden it. We will look at, all about, oh, my video is off, sorry. Yeah. We will structure the discussion and questions around all about employee experience, specifically around this 1 year period, how they have been working from home, the customer experience as well, how it was before, during the lockdown, during the pandemic. Nilesh touched upon it. And then going forward, what is going to happen? What are the strategies? A panel, we have a very diversified panel. I will introduce them shortly. We would love to hear from their domain expertise, the breadth of knowledge, and the different verticals that they come across. The objective is to learn some solid use cases, very India specific or even global specific. And, it should be a good takeaway for all the participants who are over here. So let me quickly and briefly introduce to the participants. And then when I ask the questions, I will request the panelists to quickly, elaborate more on what they are doing. So the first person I will request, I think Ms. Krishna Hasa Yalamanchili. I hope the third part I spoke properly. She is the she's a product owner for digital strategy at Adobe. Hi, Hasa. I think we'll call you Hasa.
Yes.
Yes. Then we have Mr. Shyam Krishnamurthy, who's the country head for AirAsia Digital. I think we have from an airline vertical as well. Good evening, Mr. Shyam.
Good evening, Bhavesh.
Then we have Mr. Ritvik Gupta. He's the head of customer experience at ACO Insurance. Good evening, Mr. Ritvik.
Good evening, Bhavesh.
Then we have Mr. Zeenal Patel, Zinal Patel is the head of design and user experience at Reliance Edgio, I think. Good evening, welcome Zinal. And then last but not the least, we have Mr. Prabhat Kumar Tiwari. He's the founder and CEO of Your Own Room. I think he's one of the new startups that he has started. Good evening, Mr. Prabhat.
Hey.
Nice to have all of you. Okay, quickly, I think, so I think we will start. What we will do is the first question I would like to focus around the employee experience, because as long as, we strongly believe as long as employees are happy, the customers will be taken care of and they will eventually be happy. So the last 1 year we have seen, I think initially, I think it'll be almost a year. Yeah. We were forced into lockdown. There was a struggle for Nilesh touched upon it. Employees had to move to home, work from home, a lot of IT challenges. Customers overcame that. Then, there was a little bit of resistance. Then eventually people got used to it. And then for many of us, it has now become a fatigue. We are tired of working from home and all dying to come back to office. So this whole journey, I think, and collaboration tools like Zoom and Avaya Spaces and all played a very key role to enable people to work from home over and above the IT challenges. So I think, Hassan, I would like to start with you. I think looking at your team, and from Adobe, you can tell briefly about yourself, how you have been managing, your company has been managing, and how you have been advising your clients, because you take a lot of these digital consulting strategies. And also if you can touch upon, more than collaboration, how do you measure the employee productivity? Because especially when you have large teams and people are working from office, it is easier. But when you're at home, how do you really measure the employee productivity? Over to you, Hasa. Please share some insights. Yeah.
Thanks, Bhavesh. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Hasa, and I head the digital maturity practice at Adobe globally. At the risk of sounding competitive, I would like to say that we are the leaders for creativity, productivity, and digital experience tools. So the entire point of having these three words in one line is all about Adobe. So you always might have the top of the mind recalls as say Acrobat or PDF or say Photoshop.
Yes.
But that's not the only products that we deliver. We have some amazing customer experience tools. So to the question of how we coped up for the last 1 year, right? First 1 month has been a lot of confusion for everyone, right? Both from the customer standpoint as well as within the organization. What I'll say is, with respect to enterprises, they're already investing so much in productivity tools, and collaboration tools across. If you see a small and medium business, they might not be invest in a SharePoint or something like that. However, all the enterprises are already equipped with this kind of productivity tools. So sharing and collaboration was not an issue. Work from home was already a norm, even before COVID happened. However, understanding and reacting to what the customer needs are was a challenging time. So first 1-2 months, we literally had to turn ourselves into an empath. We had to understand what the customers across various industries are going through. So one strategy that really helped us as a company is together, a group of 100 professionals came together to kind of give this industry insight to everyone facing the customer, right? We divided the entire landscape into, say, digitally weak and digitally strong, and essential and non-essential businesses. So it's like basically a 2x2 matrix. And we really had to understand what would be the need of a digitally strong and essential business versus the need of a digitally weak and non-essential business, which has the risk of collapse towards the end of it. And how do we as Adobe support the customers, right? So with this kind of framework, we were able to design a lot of strategies and go into the market and proactively help the customers even before they ask for. So that actually opened up the conversations, both from helping the customer as well as growing our business per se. So that was the main strategy that we followed. Other than that, with respect to the employee productivity, so I have clearly seen, a tangential difference, right, from how we used to work from office versus working from home. I mean, especially with our company, Adobe, the productivity has only gone up. That's what I have seen in terms of sales, in terms of the revenue generation, in terms of the busyness with which we were like fatigued, to your point, Bhavesh. So we were given every alternate Friday off. They are called as global day offs, and today is a holiday for us. It's Lunar New Year, and we are celebrating it internationally. So the company, the leadership came together to support the entire employee, their concerns, their considerations, always taking out surveys to understand what we are going through, giving out incentives, and making it much more like our company versus some company that we are working for, right? So I think the same thing has been done by, say, Facebook, Google, or any of the enterprises, where they valued employees more than anything else. So that's my 2 cents.
Hey, thank you so much, Hasa. You're fortunate, you're getting a Friday off. I think for many of the customer companies in India, we have seen, actually the productivity has gone up because probably people are working more. And you don't know when the day starts, day ends, the weekend starts, weekend end. I think people have been working around the clock. That is what I think. I would just like to ask Mr. Shyam as well. Mr. Shyam, I think if you can also, touch base upon this point, I think employees working from home, from AirAsia perspective and your perspective, what do you feel? What is it that has happened? Because it's an airline, you have a lot of people, actually people have to be on the field. Of course, when during the lockdown, the airlines were closed, but how the whole thing was managed from the employee perspective. I'll come to you again from the customer as well, but if you can share some points here, sir.
Sure. Let me probably introduce myself and then go dive in.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhavesh. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shyam Krishnamurthy. I lead the AirAsia digital practice in India. We're about 100 plus folks working for the AirAsia digital vision. So what we are essentially is we are building a super app for the Asian market. Traditionally a travel company, but now we are for everyone: e-commerce, activities, digital payments, food, transportation, whatever, right? And prior to this, I was with Walmart, and so I do have some e-commerce experience and some startup experience. So going right into what you raised, right? I think I would say traditionally AirAsia is not a work from home company. We are literally a brick and mortar. We want our employees to come to the offices, and I guess that's how it has been built. But I think good or bad, along the way, right, there have been so many digital tools that have been introduced, and for us to really adopt from a place where we used to come to the office to start working from home, it was not a big journey at all. The adaptation seemed to have happened very, very quickly. I think first, the company was, giving all the support to the employees, right, to make sure that they have the infrastructure, whether it's VPN capabilities or whatever things they wanted at their end in the home, right? And that is good. And the second thing was, I think, it also good part from the employees to make sure that they were also holding to this new arrangement. So I think from that perspective, everything, pretty much most of the things which we do in AirAsia is all, through digital bots or through, digital services. Very, very rarely do we talk to, an officer or whatever. Even we have to do that, it's more like in, asynchronous way, and then we get the response back. I remember a use case where I could not see a pay slip for me, and I just had to raise, and within 4 hours it got resolved. So I think, the tools that have been there in the organization had actually literally made us evolve into a state where we can actually be productive. And I also want to highlight upon 2 things, which is, very, very super important, right? I think they say necessity is the mother of invention, right? And initially, right, when we started this work from home, we had situation, come to office, power is there, internet is there, you start from working from home, you might not have an inverter, you could lose your power, there could be no backup internet available. And we had to solve for those use cases in our development environment so that people are continuing to be productive. So I think, and people started to innovate on those things and brought in new ideas where people can work offline and then sync with the systems when they can come back online, right? um, and other yeah. So I think overall, I think the experience was pretty good, I would say, from AirAsia perspective. I think good synergy between the organization, the execs, the management, and the employees to make it happen.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Shyam. Now, let me just quickly jump from the employee experience to, the customer experience. And I think I want to ask Mr. Ritvik Gupta. So before I just ask you, I just want to set a context because in Avaya, you saw the demo, right? Contact center. So we have some huge contact centers, and the biggest challenge that we started in the end of Feb and March is, enabling moving the agents to work from home. And that was a huge challenge. And it was a major IT challenge, the VPNs, as Mr. Sham just touched upon, having broadband, agents don't have good internet connection. Some of them have to take calls on the GSM mobile phone, everything. I think it was 1.5 month, but it was successful. I think we managed to move more than thousands of agents to work from home, in spite of the solution being on premise. So there was a huge learning for me in person and my team over here, because contact center is one of the biggest businesses of Avaya. And one more thing, what people have been telling me since 2014, that now when you talk about customer experience and customer service, that voice as a channel is going to die away. But it has not died away, but probably it has reduced because the other channels, the next generation, the techie generation, are more comfortable using the digital or the social channels. So Ritvik, coming over to you, I think if you can just elaborate, from an insurance background, first you can give a background of yourself, how you have been managing during this lockdown before, and going forward, what do you feel, you also saw the demo, right? How would you service customers purely from an online perspective? If you can share some insights, and then probably, we'll see ahead here.
Sure. Yeah. Hello. Good evening, everyone. So let me give a quick introduction. I basically head the customer experience in ACO, which basically includes the service, claims, and the entire customer journeys, etc. And giving a quick introduction about ACO, ACO General Insurance is a digital-only insurance provider of India, and we are a 4-year-old company. We work on very innovative products in insurance products, wherein to give you some example, you can insure your cab ride, you can insure your hotel stay, you can insure your flight, and stuff like this, along with, of course, the traditional car insurance and health insurance products. So I mean, it's a entirely direct to customer approach, and hence the customer experience becomes all the more critical for us, whether it's a buying experience or a service experience, or a claims experience. And coming to the question, Bhavesh, of course, it was a huge challenge in front of us. We being a small company, there were a lot more challenges in front of us, from managing the hardwares, managing the software, having a good IT team who could implement all the processes overnight to ensure that there is the entire workforce is working from home. And similarly, there were challenges from the from the team as well, where they didn't have, some of the team members didn't have a good infra at their homes, good internet connections, or probably good working conditions as well in the home. So I mean, initial 1 month was pretty much during the quarantine time, where people had very less resources to solve their issues also. But eventually, yeah, everybody came up to the mark, and it became a new normal for us. And on the performance part, I would say that we have been performing really well as compared to, which was all the more shocking for us, because that was not something that we expected, that the performance would be much better than how we are working from working from offices. But yeah, working from home has its own challenges. People don't get to interact with each other. The personal touch within the teams is missing, and everybody again wants to get into offices. And as of today, like, it's just a laptop in front of you, and you're working for a laptop. And so all those engagement thing and, like, the interaction, the personal touch is although lacking. But yeah, on the performance side, like, things are pretty well. And if you talk about the customer experience, right, all the more, like, we have multiple modes of customer experience, whether it's chat, whether it's social media, whether it's, like, uh, ticketing platforms or email and all that, right? So my 2 cents on this is, like, unless and until we are able to provide a solution, a platform which is quicker than for a customer, or as easy as customer to pick up the phone, dial the toll free number or dial the customer service number and gets its query resolved, unless and until. So the time and the effort is, like, the essence of the entire resolution cycle here. So if we are able to, like, give a quick resolution to the customer and a streamlined resolution to the customer on any other platform, whether it's a WhatsApp, whether it's, like, ticketing, it works really well. And nobody, no customer wants to, like, put in a lot more effort and, like, locating a customer care number, giving a call, going through the entire IVR, and then, like, reaching out to the agent, explaining the query and get the resolution. So if we are, like, we are coming up with those solutions, WhatsApp chats, and, like, the system chats and all those CRM platforms. So yeah, I mean, like, we are there, but yeah, like, adaption from the customer ends, adaption from our end, and integrating our backends with all these CRM platforms and the platforms. So that's something, like, it's in progress. And of course, like, it's going to be a new era for customer experience going ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Ritvik. So I want to take an input from Prabhat as well, but before that, I had a counter question. So Ritvik, I think coming from an insurance, while it is not a bank but financial services, I have seen a lot of these PSU banks during the lockdown. They did not allow the agents to work from home because agents have access to a lot of critical customer financial statements and all. So did you face that kind of a challenge? And
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
true. I mean, like, for us also, insurance, it's a regulated
Mm.
industry, and there is a lot of, like, security, information security and stuff. And hence, like, it was all the more challenge for us to get this implemented. So our infosec teams, our IT teams had to, like, work really hard to, like, to get all those softwares implemented, and, like, over the night, and managing like, stuff remotely. But yeah, it was stressful, but there was not a single day wherein, like, we had to, like, stop the operations, or we had to stop the claim processing or anything. It was really, like, seamless. We made sure that the customer experience is not hampered at any point of time. And like, we are able to, like, deliver the same customer experience with whatever like, modes and channels we had. And like, yeah, it was stressful. And but yeah, I mean, like, our technology is at par when, like, we can get all these things implemented. It's matter of, like, how effectively we use and exploit all those tools and softwares that we have as of today.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. And very interesting. So Prabhat, if you can, shed some light. I think you are running an online. I didn't understand. It's a real estate company. I know customer service in this journey. If you can share some insights and some of the use cases from your perspective. Looking at it purely from an online model and then complementing it with other channels. I think Prabhat, you're mute. Continue.
Let me first introduce myself. My name is
Yeah.
Prabhat, and I run a company called Your Own Room. It's a residential PropTech company, and we provide rental and property management solution. Now, the entire business is run through technology, number one. Now, just from a customer perspective, if you look at it, who are our customers, right? There are two types of customers. One are essentially tenants who stay in our properties. So we have about 300 odd properties, and this is spread across Bangalore, Pune, over 500,000 square feet. And then there are owners who give us the property to manage on their behalf. Now, if you really look at it, technology is used throughout the process end to end. Now, what exactly happened during the pandemic is it just fosters for higher adoption of technology. Now, technology's adoption starts from discovery, which is done through a portal or it's done through the mobile app, to book, to doing a site visit. Now, site visit, you have to go physically see it, but then there are people who see it over video calls or WhatsApp calls, etc. Then there is KYC, there is e-signing of an agreement, then there is a moving into the property, then there is invoice generation and so on. So I think what the pandemic did was it just fast-tracked the entire online adoption. Online has always been there, but it's just that it's a combination of online and offline. And I would say maybe before the pandemic, it was maybe 80% online, 20% offline. I think now it's become 95% online and 5% offline. That's the fundamental difference from an employee perspective. As far as owners are concerned, owners also do a lot of stuff online. With owners, the relationships are multi-year. So the transactions aren't as frequent as we have with tenants, right? So I think the overall adoptions have just gone up significantly from both these players. From the employee front, we basically can, if you really look at it, uh, I would say we can categorize our employees into 4 different buckets. One is the leadership team, then comes your technology team, then comes your sales team, and then comes your operations team. I think from a leadership team, they have all worked for companies like HP and IBM and TCS and Wipro and so on. So they were used to this whole work from home culture, etc. So I don't think the issue was at the leadership team. Technology one was the fastest one to adopt, right? Because technology, the bunch of 3 people were sitting and writing a portal or a mobile app or a business process engine and so on. So they were more than happy. They went down to the place that they were able to work comfortably. I think with operations was the pleasant surprise. I wasn't very confident that operations team would be able to work from home. And somebody made a statement that, I think Bhavesh, you made a statement that, you don't know when the clock stops, right, or starts.
Yeah.
I think from an operation perspective, I think they also, went through the same challenge. And more than anything else, they really appreciate the fact that instead of spending time on the road, they were also able to use that time to do something more productive. The adoption by operations was a very pleasant surprise for me. As far as sales is concerned, we've had mixed experience, right? There were some people who just could not do their jobs, and there were some who were able to do their jobs. So I think, this is a new world. We just have to accept the way it is. And I think we're just moving forward with it.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhat. I'm going to come back to you a little bit later. Okay, I think I want to quickly call out Zinal. Zinal, one question that comes, I think looking from the customer experience or user experience, you saw the demo, right? I think so. Today in the industry, we are seeing, like thousands and maybe lakhs of mobile apps, right? And I think you are part of that mobile app journey. I mean, how many apps does a person really install on a mobile phone? So, for every service, or he or she, that do maybe an app like an Uber or Ola. If I'm using it every day, I'll probably have it on my mobile. But if I'm going to take a service only once or twice a year, do I really install a mobile app? That is very fine. I go back to the demo which Deepak and Ram showed, the journey which starts on a messaging platform, which I'm probably using 3 to 4 hours a day. And from there, I start a journey. The experience starts from there. So I wanted to hear from your perspective. I think since you are from the user experience journey, how do you feel it is balanced? Having a mobile app versus a messaging platform to provide customer service, and maybe if things have changed during the pandemic, or before or after, if you can share some insights. And please, first you can introduce yourself in detail, and then you can probably answer that question. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Bhavesh. Yeah, about me. Hi, guys. Good evening. I work with Agio, and I lead a product design team there. And I have been with them for around now almost a year. Prior to basically joining Agio, I have worked with various startups, Indian-grown startups, mostly in the space of mobility as well as hospitality and advertising domains. Okay, so to answer Bhavesh, I think a great question, and I think I did spend some time, I think in terms of while working at maybe a couple of years back on the same around understanding that how many apps did a normal user, like in terms of at least in tier 1 city, right, or a metro city versus a tier 2, tier 3 city? Is there a distinct, like I would say, difference, or is there some similarity, right? And the other part to it was also we were looking at what are the apps, right, that a user, at least an Android user, who, what are the potential apps or what are the key apps which the user keeps on their homepage, right? So as part of that survey, I think the results were really in terms of surprising, right? And depending on, again, the cities, or depending on the region which we were looking at. But to summarize, in terms of, yes, I think looking from an Indian user perspective, I think we are very conservative of installing number of apps, right? I think I'm talking about pre-COVID days mostly. But yes, I think users optimize on the space. I think they are able to get a mobile phone, which is very, I would say, very reasonably priced, right? 6,000, 7,000. But if you look at, I would say, the data limitation or maybe the space limitation, I think there's what I mean, the speed limitation. People do optimize, right? I've seen a pattern where people actually don't turn on their data for a longer time. They try to optimize it whenever they are not using it, they just turn it off, right? And the same thing happens with the app as well. So whenever they are not using or they don't have a key use case, I think they uninstall it and then they reinstall it, right? And which again, maybe for a company like us, or maybe any of the digital players, right? I think it changes somewhat. I think it gives you a different, I would say, in terms of challenges, it's a bit complex, right? So I think currently pre-COVID, I would say during COVID, I think that the increase in number of apps, right, or the services being used has somewhat, I guess that it has gone high, right? And because of course, I've been lot of reliance on, for example, a lot of dependency on the online channels, either be it e-commerce, either be it grocery, I would say, either be it online payments, right? So people didn't want it to get stuck. And I think that is where they had opted for multiple apps for whatever, I think, whatever, either be it grocery or either being making a payment, right? But to generalize it and going forward, I see that yes, app ecosystem is going to bust. I would say it's not a sustainable, I would say, in terms of a strategy, right? Having hundreds of apps and maybe having, for example, 5 different apps for just booking a cab, right?
Yeah.
Or ordering a grocery. So of course, I think each of the brand has to solve for customer loyalty, stickiness. How do they do it? There are various ways. Of course, they'll have to innovate on that. But I guess, I think we are moving into a world where I think we'll have, for example, voice interfaces are going to be there, right? It's going to be reality, right? And I think if you talk about voice interfaces, Alexa or Siri, right? You can still remove the app layer, right? And you can actually like use any of the service, right? Either you want to book a flight, or either you want to. So I guess there is going to be an aggregation, what I think Mr. Shyam said, right? Super apps, the world of super apps. So unless and until, in terms of the users are, like in terms of trust a brand, right? The brand loyalty is there. And I guess people are going to use one brand for multiple services or multiple use cases, right? And that is where I think I'm seeing a somewhat reduction in the apps being used or apps being installed. So yes, web platform is going to be, again, I mean, maybe whatever, I think QR code is a good example, right? So if you need something on the QR code, of course, the PWA or maybe a website opens up, you do your use case, done. You do your transaction, done. So yes, I see that we are moving into a world where maybe the apps are going to be somewhat I mean, the use of apps are going to be limited.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. I think, yes, it is true. I think QR code is a way forward for everything, even for joining a meeting, in Avaya, you actually scan a QR code and join meeting. It's as simple as that. Or, as I said earlier, the journey starts from a WhatsApp and then you open an HTML file. So then you don't need so many apps. But yeah, I think then I have heard developers say it becomes more difficult. Rituk, any thoughts on this from your side? I think if you want to add something.
Yeah, sure. So basically,
Yeah.
like, how Zenal basically correctly
Mm.
mentioned, correct. As of today, we as users have multiple apps for a single service, right? For a grocery delivery, we use multiple apps. Most
Mm.
of us will have, like, Ola and Uber, both the apps. Although there might be some loyal customers who would be really loyal to Ola, be really loyal to Uber. Again, like I would say, like, the customer experience actually plays a critical role out here. Not, I would say, not a single company as of today is not able to satisfy the 100% need of the users, or, like, the
Mm.
100% availability. So if we talk about grocery delivery, right? If I'm ordering from one of the grocery delivery app, and I want to order 10 items, and if that grocery delivery app has only 8 items available, and if me as a user has to step out to buy those two items as well, right, the entire
It
purpose
fails.
of having a grocery delivery is
Correct.
failed, right? Now, me as a user, I don't buy a car, and I depend on Ola and Uber, and I want to travel, I have a flight to catch or something like that, and I don't get a cab on time, like, or I get delayed, I'm not able to find a cab. So as the user experience, like, is screwed, and I might, doesn't matter how loyal I'm to Uber, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
how loyal I'm to Ola, but at that moment, if my purpose is not getting fulfilled, so I mean that it doesn't matter, right? So the entire thing, like, is will revolve around a customer experience, the supply chain, and, like, how well
Yeah.
internet company is able to meet the needs of the user. So I mean, that's what going to decide who's going to stay on my phone or any user's phone.
Thank you.
Can I just add one thing, Bhavesh?
Yeah, sure, Shyam. I
Uh,
was coming to you only. Yes. Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Bhavesh. So I think, we strongly believe, like what Mr. Ritvik said and Mr. Zena said, right? I think it is a world, how useful you are to the customer. I guess that prolongs the longevity on how long the app is going to be on your phone. The moment you turn to be not reliable or not useful, I think the people will turn it off, right? And I think I don't know the statistics, but I think on an average, people don't use more than 7 or 8 apps a day. And there are some stats which say about max 30 apps is what they use in a month. And but typically users have like as high as 70 or 80 apps installed on their smartphones. And our pivot towards the super app is predominantly to address all these use cases. Our tagline used to be, now everyone can fly, and now we say for everyone. And we just wanted to move to make sure that we actually capture everybody's usefulness, right? We want to be useful for everybody in the Asian market. So yeah, I think very good discussion. I
Yeah.
think very useful points.
Yeah. So yeah. So Shyam, I had one more question for you. I think so I think taking the discussion to the next level. I think we spoke about employee experience, customer experience. Now I think there is a lot of buzz, around stuff like artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning, and all. And every company claims, that we are providing machine learning algorithm to provide better customer service. And I think I've seen probably there are more machine learning algorithms than probably the number of services that we have to provide. If you can shed some light from AirAsia perspective, into areas of customer service, are these technologies really being used? And I'll take some feedback from others as well, or it is just hype buzzword. You would probably only hear that, this is used by Netflix and Amazon and really, really large enterprises. But would
Right.
like to hear something over there. Please, Shyam. Yes.
Thank you. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it is, there is a lot of buzz. I don't think we should underplay that. There is definitely a lot of buzz, but I think at some point in time, the buzz starts to turn into reality. So I think we are marching towards that. I think it'll still take some more time, but specifically with AirAsia, right? There are a few areas where we are definitely leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning. So let me come to, so we have something called AVA. It's called AVA. It's the AirAsia Virtual All-Star. So every employee in AirAsia is called an All-Star. And this is our virtual All-Star, right? And to just give some stats, right? This All-Star it's a chat bot. You can connect it through your WeChat, your WhatsApp, AirAsia app, whatever, right? FB, Messenger, etc. And pretty much it handles most of our users, 80% to be precise, right? And almost 25,000 users concurrently. And we have a host of features on this, and people can literally, you type in something you wanted, maybe a cancellation procedure. You can even cancel a ticket and process the refund, give it back to your credit card. You can change flight, change schedule, whatever, right? Ask for a status of a flight. All that is possible with our Ava, and we
Ava app.
Ava, yeah, and we use a lot of artificial intelligence to power this, and we constantly learn from our data to make this even more intelligent. The other big area where we use machine learning is, we have a platform internally codenamed Nudge, where we use this to power personalization, hotel recommendation, popular cities based on collaborative filtering model. So we use a lot of our data, because AirAsia has been collecting data, user data, for a long time, and we've been using that to kind of give users, so that they can actually make a lot more informed decision and faster decision, because today people have very limited time, right? And if you can help them give some attractive options to them, then the decision cycle becomes a lot quicker. So these are the places where we use, and we do have a lot more use cases which we are planning. So we have a pretty large data science team that actually are working on powering and using this data to power a lot of features. In fact, we would even want to extend, and if people have been using our flights, we have about 15 LOBs, lines of business. We would even want to predict what sort of business, what sort of activities, what sort of deals or whatever promotions we could recommend an user, and there's a good likelihood of he accepting that. So good opportunity, and I think the team is working really hard to fulfill the execution on this.
Great. Thanks, Shams, for the insights. Hasa, would you like to add something on this? I think you're doing a lot of work on digital strategy, AI and ML. From your experience with your clients, if you're doing something. Yeah.
Sure. So what I've seen in the last 1 year is, maybe 1 year ago, it was a buzzword, like, for example, virtual tryouts, virtual makeup artists, etc. So Sephora has launched virtual artists, I think, way back in 2017 with very little or no traction, because we still want to try out makeup and look out for shades and do a in-store purchase, right?
Okay.
Just in 2020, the entire model has completely relied on virtual tryouts and virtual try-ons with a curbside pickup availability and all of that. So all of that is possible because the virtual artist is able to give the right suggestion for the right complexion based on facial recognition. And then when I go back onto the system again for a different product 6 months later, it is able to recommend me what I would like, the brands I would like, the kind of because it's summer, because it's winter, the different types of elements that I would like to buy, and the options.
I think she lost power.
I guess.
Yeah, never mind, no problem.
No worries.
Yeah, she'll probably come back. No problem. I think we'll probably a little bit go ahead. I had one more question. I think we are now towards the end of it. Probably, I think, Prabhat, I think what we have seen, I think this work from home phenomenon is probably relevant only for the IT industry or, really large enterprises. What happens to the SME sector in India? I think, of course, startups are tech savvy, but if you see maybe if you even include startups and the SME, which you hear in politics as well, right? That is where bulk of the jobs and the economy rolls because of that. Is this really relevant for them, or it is only for the top, 3 to 4% of the population? You have some thoughts on that? How do they really, this work from home theory, customer experience, are they really able to provide those kind of things?
Yeah. So I don't know if I really can answer totally from an SME perspective, right? But because SME is a much broader, I would call it a demography that we're talking about. But fundamentally, if you look at large enterprises, I think this is not new. It's always been there, right? Of course, there are certain constraints, etc. But if you look at startups and maybe some of these smaller business, right? What you see is you see a lot of disparity in terms of competency levels and technology awareness and adoption levels of individuals. So on one hand, you have people who are very seasoned, who use the latest technology, they use with all the gadgets, with all the software, or all the apps. And then you have other people who are probably getting there. So the gap is much wider in terms of digital know-how, I would call it, right? Unlike in enterprise where everybody is more or less at the same level, everybody knows how to use a CRM system, everybody knows how to use an IVR, everybody can use apps, make payments, and so on. So that's the fundamental difference over there. That's number one. Number two is that even in terms of overall office infrastructure, in terms of the quality of laptops, etc. Normally in enterprises it's all much more regulated, right? I mean, everybody, for example, has a certain configuration. I mean, when I was in HP and exchanging, I remember it used to be a Lenovo or ThinkPad or whatever, one standard configuration. But if you look at startups and SMEs, you have the senior guys who typically have the latest of the latest MacBook Pros. Then you have a lot of people using, maybe Asus and some of the other low-end configuration. So the gap is too high. So what I feel is that this is currently going through a lot of evolution, and maybe things will settle. But it's going to be a hybrid model in the sense some of it will happen what do you call remote work from home. Some will have to be done. Bulk of it will have to be done from office, and there will be some roles that they will be able to operate. Right, for example, leadership roles, technology roles, accounting, HR. Many of them may be able to operate, but core sales and operations, which could be a good chunk in many cases, I am not sure if they will be able to operate totally from home. It could be maybe 50-50 or maybe 60-40, depends. So I think, I don't think any of us has a very clear answer at this point in time. But I think it is moving in that direction. But also keep in mind that with enterprises, work from home also has a lot of other challenges too, right? I mean, for example, interpersonal coordination. How do you do design thinking? How do you have face-to-face conversations and so on? So there also you will see that maybe the next 6 months to 12 months, you will come to know whether it's working totally well or if there's a productivity loss, or what if someone is sitting at home and probably not really working, doing something else, right? So a lot of it is only going to come out over a period of time, and I think we're just going through some interesting times, evolution time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think it is a challenge, because I remember I did a webinar in the month of June or July in Chennai, and it was essentially for these SMEs, and most of them said, I think it's just a matter of time. Work from home and all is really, really not relevant for us. Probably, it was a manufacturing kind of setup, not very, very tech savvy. So it still remains more like an elite phenomenon. Yeah. Okay, fine. I think Hassa, you're back. I think you probably had a power fluctuation. You want to complete your point? Yeah. Otherwise, we can just wind up.
So I just wanted to highlight a few things, whether it is COVID or not. I mean, only situations will kind of help us innovate, right? And what we have noticed in the last 1 year is innovation at its best in terms of, mobile pop-up stores, in terms of the way in which, big companies reach out to customers. I have seen in Amazon, in any of the other like Bed Bath and Beyond, like any of the, local retailers as well, one work from home section. So it is possible to curate that material only when you see that kind of demand and quickly kind of turn around all the website and landing pages for selling what people need. So the faster someone does it, the faster they get revenue, the faster they are able to cope up, right? The smaller companies are still able to do it much better. Like if you look at all the gourmet stores, grocery stores in Bangalore, right? The amount of sales that they have done just during the COVID period versus otherwise is like I mean, it's like noteworthy, because earlier it was not a very popular thing that a gourmet store would go and set up a store in an apartment and sell and so get sold out, right?
Yeah.
But all of that is happening because of innovation. People are wanting things, and as long as there are companies ready to provide stuff, there's always a demand. So that's what I
Right.
see as a big takeaway there.
Fine. Thank you so much. I think we got a few minutes left because this webinar is till 5. If there are any questions, Ekta, in the audience, I think we can spend a few minutes on that, and probably if not, I'll leave it to you.
Yes.
We can wind up the webinar.
Yeah. So do we have any questions? So we had somebody in the chat room asking about the loyalty of brands. That is Saurav Gupta. So he's asking, guess loyalty of brands apps depends on how well a user's problem are being solved. You guys can read there. So any insights on the chat box message?
It's a long question.
Absolutely. So loyalty is a game changer, and the loyalty that you build from all the SMS push notifications and emails and pop-ups, that's not loyalty. That's like intrusion, mainly more than anything else. So everything depends upon how you fulfill the product or a service, how you actually give that unboxing experience if it's a retail product, or a service experience once the customer is on board, right? It all boils down to the basic things. Why is the customer here? What is he wanting from us? And what are we giving him in return? Everything else is like, gold plating, but the metal actually matters. So
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think if I can just add to that, I think it is retention, which at least in our business, it is retention, which is probably the most important metric. If a customer comes back to you and again, I think you've scored it, it's loyal. If not, you have a problem, and your cost of acquisition, everything goes up significantly. So that's how it is. And sometimes, here the question is also about brand and app, right? Which are two different things, right? So I'm talking more from a brand perspective than just an app.
Yeah.
Fine. So, yes, audiences. Yes, Mr. Bhavesh, I was just coming to that. So, audiences, do we have any questions? Please, I have already shared the guidelines. Raising your hands, introducing yourself, and putting your question to a panel. So I think, Bhavesh, we can wait for a couple of minutes, and
we'll wait.
Yeah, so that people, if they have any questions, you can directly ask. So yes, audiences, we are open for the Q&A, please.
Yeah, I think while we wait for the questions, I would really like to thank all the panelists, and all the participants who have, attended this webinar. Thank you once again from Avaya. I really appreciate. I personally feel we have really got good insights from all our 6 panelists, the five panelists. I would love to interact with you all again sometime in the future, and hope you also have taken away something, from the session, the demo that you saw from Avaya. Yeah. And if there anything else would you like to add in the next 1 or 2 minutes, please feel free. If anybody wants to make any more comments. Otherwise, I think, Ekta, we can wind up.
Yes. So just waiting for the couple of minutes if we can have.
Yeah, we'll wait.
I think the only thing which I wanted to touch upon is where Mr. Prabhat talked about, time is going to tell about, how this whole work from home worked for the employees, right? We are, I don't know, I've been talking to a few of my friends. Also, I've been observing some of our employees, right? I think given that this has gone for almost 10, 11 months now, we are seeing signs of people who are in isolation mode, single guys, having some, kind of bordering clinical depression, state, right? So, as an organization, we are actually really helping, and I think the connect. So what we have recently started is, every 2 weeks, we are following all the government norms of social distancing and all of that, and we are trying to meet people, face to face, just to kind of make sure that people are all, it's just an inclusive thing, and making sure that we are taking care of their concerns, and making sure that things are working out for folks. So I think this is a real problem, hopefully, but hopefully all the organizations start to take this mental health a little bit more seriously, so that we don't run into any major issues for all the people.
Yes.
If I can add, I think that's a very solid point. And also keep in mind that India culturally, people don't speak up, right? They don't challenge ideas, they don't challenge questions. So the boss is always right. So in a setup like this, where it's very bottom heavy, there are 80% of people, or maybe even more, whose voice is not being heard. So it's all going to show up in different, it's going to manifest in different forms, right? Either, as you just rightly mentioned, Shyam, it could be some state like that, or it could be, people getting disenchanted, people leaving jobs, there's so many things that'll come out of it. So I think it has to be a good balance between, work from home and probably, sitting in the office and deriving energy from others.
Right. Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so I think it should be a wrap up, Bhavesh, from our end.
Yes.
So on the closing note, we all know as the world grapples with the ongoing health crisis, the implications of CX in today's age have become far more pervasive given the new world order. So no doubt the pandemic has changed the way we work and live, which has highlighted not only the importance of digital transformation, but also the fact that the journey is continuous. So on closing note, I would like to thank our partner Avaya India and all our thought leaders, Mr. Ritvik, Mr. Zeenal, Mr. Shyam, Mr. Prabhat, and Hasa for joining and sharing your great insights and making this webinar a success with your, great informations coming in from you guys. So, and not missing our lovely audience for taking out your precious time and being here. I hope you all had a great session, and we shall be updating the video link shortly and sharing with every one of you. Also requesting you to please share your feedback form, which my team will be sharing a lot with you. Also, the feedback mentions a little about a one-on-one brainstorm virtual meet with Avaya. So you can mention your interest there, and we would be glad to connect you with Avaya. So kindly follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for various webinars and updates. Thank you, and everyone have a nice weekend. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.